Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I actually want to go over the trades that I took this week, my process, the idea behind the trades, and my entries. Trades, the first trade I took this week was on Tuesday, and that was on GBP Aussie, Euro Aussie, and then Euro New Zealand. So let's go over the chart. Let me walk you through my process. So on GBP Aussie, of course, I told you guys my analysis starts on the weekly time frame. So obviously I check the breakout of a weekly candle, and as we can see that the weekly candle has been breaking to the downside, like it's been breaking out and closing in breakout to the downside, and this tells me that we are in a downtrend. So I go down to my daily time frame, and on the daily time frame I could see that we're also in a downtrend. We had a pullback. We have up movement for 2 days to this level here. That was our last down candle. So we had an uptrend to that level, to the high of our last down candle, and then when I saw this first red day, and this automatically confirms that this trade was ready. So I went down to my 15 minutes. So on my 15 minutes, that was on Tuesday. So we had the first trade day on Monday, after we had this uptrend that traded inside the range of the last down candle. So this was the high of the last down candle, and we had this upward uptrend on the inside. So we got a first red day here, and this actually confirmed that this trade was ready. Now I took this trade on Tuesday after this peak was formed in Asian session. And guys, I know I mentioned that you should wait for your Asian session to trade, and this is because if you're actually new to this entry model, you should actually focus on waiting for Asian session to trade before you look for your entries. But I already have my ways around it, and I know when to take trades in each session. But I would advise you, if you're a newbie, to wait for your Asian session to trade. So I entered this trade after this peak was formed. But if we were to use the entry model that I used, you could see we had a breakout of our Asian session, the pullback, and then see the breakout of our Asian session here. See the breakouts. We had this pullback in our London session. I could have entered after this red candle engulfed green candle. This way would have taken your trades. So but I took this trades around this area. After this, there was a 1 hour engulfing candle which confirmed my peak formation. That's when I took this trade in Asian session. So I was targeting the low. So I was targeting this low here. And actually got a TP was actually hit. So for the second trade, which was on Euro Aussie, I didn't really hold the trade that long, because as I mentioned on Euro Aussie, I didn't really hold that trade much, because Euro Aussie was, it was consolidating. It wasn't really moving the way GBP Aussie moved. So I closed that trade earlier than I expected, but I later took the trade on Friday. So let's go over to Euro Aussie. So on Euro Aussie, it's the same process. You know that Euro Aussie and GBP Aussie actually move the same. Okay, so it's always the same process. We go to our weekly. We had our weekly dropping down to closing in breakout shots. So we had our weekly closing in breakout shots, and this signals that we are in a trend. So also go down to my daily to see if my daily is doing the same thing. So when we get to our daily, you can see that daily was also breaking down short, but we had this pullback on the inside, this uptrend that was within the range of our last down candle. So mark the high of that range of that last down candle. We had price approach that area, gave us our first red day, and this is where I took this trade. Let's go down to our entry time frame. So this was our first trade day, and I took this trade. I think I entered this trade here, or the same area. Yes, I entered this trade the same area. After this, I got this peak formation, but I had to leave this trade because you see the creeping movement, and that's close this trade earlier than I expected. But actually later I entered this trade. I actually took the trade later on Friday, our Asian range. and I got this check to this trade. I wasn't able to hold it because the plan was to actually hold it to this level. The plan was to hold it to this area, this level here. But I checked out because it wasn't really moving as well as I wanted it to move, and the way it didn't move the way GBP was moved, because once I entered GBP it dropped, but this was just a creepy trend, so I had to close the trade earlier. But I entered on Friday, as I mentioned before. I took this trade again on Friday. I closed in profit. So another trade I took was JPY. JPY, I took that a buy. Of course, it's the same. It's the same process. I go to my weekly swatch to see my direction of the trend. That's where I check the direction of my trends. I don't know about you guys, but direction is very important to me. I have to confirm the direction of the trend before I enter. So on JPY, we had the same pullback. We had our weekly that is breaking out, and then last week that pulled back down to the low of our last weekly breakout candle. So we marked the low of our last weekly candle. So we had this red candle that pulled back. Of course, it has not broken the low of this last candle, the long candle. We are still in an uptrend. That's my rule. If you had the weekly that is breaking out long, and always mark the low of the last breakout candle. As long as price has not broken below it, I am still in an uptrend. So after this red candle formed, I went down to my daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, you can see that the daily level was already broken, and this signal, once the daily level is broken, that signal is up. So we are in an uptrend on the weekly, and I expect the daily to be doing the same thing, which of course it was in an uptrend until the level was broken, and it continued to break up to the downside for how many days? It's for 4 days, and until it approached our weekly level. Let's go back to the weekly level. So until it approached our weekly level here. Once it approached our weekly level, guys, let me mention that if I get a break of a daily level that is approaching a weekly zone, I don't just take a first green day. I actually wait for confirmation to ensure that the market is not going lower. So what I mean by that is, as I got my first green day here, I had to wait for this candle to confirm that price is not going lower. It doesn't want to go down to the downside any further. So after I got this confirmation, I entered this trade here. Let's go to the 15 minutes. So I took this trade on Wednesday here after this breakout of our Asian session, and price pulled back. I took this trade during New York, and then I had to close this trade earlier too because I was actually busy and we had news. That was FOMC news, so I had to close this trade earlier too. But as you can see, our level has not been hit yet. I'm expecting this trade to get all the way to this zone here, so this way I'm expected to take profit. So if this week opens and I happen to see opportunity, I could still take the buy in this Aussie JPY. And then the last trade I took was Aussie USD, and I think I got stopped at on Aussie USD, and that's because I entered during Asian session, and when London opened, it took me out, so I took a loss on that trade. So I took profits both on Euro Aussie GBP Aussie JPY. I took profits on those trades, but I took a loss on Aussie USD and Euro New Zealand. Now let's go to the Euro New Zealand, and let me explain why I took a loss on that trade, because after I took that loss, I had to review that trade. You know why my stop was hit. So let's go to Euro New Zealand. On Euro New Zealand, of course, it's the same process. I always go to my weekly time frame to confirm the trend of the market. So on Euro New Zealand, we had price also dropping down. So my initial idea was, okay, price was in a downtrend. You can see the weekly was also breaking down, and then the other was price is in a downtrend. So I went down to my daily time frame, which we confirmed that price broke out of our daily range and approached a weekly level, and this was the weekly level here. This was the weekly level that price approached here. This was the weekly level that price tapped at, and then formed a fresh red day on the daily. This was the first red day. So I followed this peak formation. The reason why I took this trade was because of this peak formation that was already formed, our first trade day, which was already formed. You can see that we had a first trade day, but price went for so many days, and I was still hoping to take this sell to this down to this level here because we have an existing peak formation. So I was expecting to take this trade down to this area because we had an existing peak formation, and my thought was, okay, since price was ranging throughout last week, I could get this sell that drops down to get to this level. Now I went that's my after that was Monday opened, and I still had a fresh trade day on Monday here. So I was like, okay, this trade is ready. So I went down to my 15 minutes to take this trade. That was on Tuesday. So I took this trade, I think here, can't remember. Okay, I took this trade during Asian session too. I took this trade after the peak formation that was formed in Asian session, and I got stopped out. You can see this big move to the upside that took me out on this trade. So I had to go review this trade again and to find out why I got stopped out. So I went back to my weekly time frame, and the reason why I got stopped out is, even though the weekly was in a downtrend, I failed to acknowledge this inside day that was formed last week. So we had an inside day that was formed last week, and inside day is a sign of either exhaustion or reversal. It's either price wants to rest and continue the trade, or it wants to like change the trend entirely. So you can see that price this week reacted at closing price of this inside day. So this was where price reacted and then took me out with that big candle. Let's go back to our 15 minutes or 1 hour. You can see this is exactly where price reacted, although it faked out below it and then took me out of this trade. So these are the trades that I took this week. Well, altogether I closed in profits. So that's it for this video. So guys, if you have not subscribed to my video, please do unsubscribe, because I will also be dropping this trade recap every week.